I'm Jeanette Roche. This is Forum Daily West. Here are some of the top stories we've been following. Parks Canada and RCMP continue to respond to a rock slide in Banff National Park after a second body is recovered. Plus, Bill C-5, known as the One Canadian Economy Act, split into two separate votes today. The House won't adjourn for summer until the debate wraps up. And Ottawa helps Canadians leave the Middle East as tensions rise between Iran and Israel. Thanks so much for joining us. Two people are confirmed to have died Thursday in a rock slide in Banff National Park. This video from Facebook shows rocks tumbling down at Bow Glacier Falls near Bow Lake. That's about 37 kilometers north of Lake Louise in Banff National Park. Rescue crews rushed to the scene and found one victim deceased, and when searching resumed Friday morning, the body of a second person was found. RCMP have identified one of the victims as Judah Heinrich, a 70-year-old retired occupational therapist from Calgary. A second deceased individual was recovered when the search resumed Friday morning. RCMP say three people were transported to hospital by STARS and ground ambulance Thursday, and they were all in stable condition at last report. Parks Canada says at this time no one else is reported missing, and there are no additional unidentified vehicles at the trailhead located at Bow Lake. Parks Canada visitor safety teams continue work today with support from geotechnical engineers to ensure trails are safe. Bow Lake and the trail to Bow Hut have reopened. Park officials say there could also be short-term traffic stoppages on the Icefields Parkway in the vicinity of the incident. The Liberal government's major projects and internal trade bill was voted on today and passed before the House of Commons rose for its summer break. The House Speaker ruled Bill C-5 had two distinct parts, which were voted on separately. The One Canadian Economy Act contains measures to tackle internal trade barriers and also gives the government new powers to approve major projects like mines, ports, and pipelines. The bill sailed through committee yesterday with support from the Conservatives, but it has faced criticism from Indigenous and environmental groups as well as some opposition MPs and senators. Iran's foreign minister says Israel has imposed an unjust war on its people by launching attacks on its nuclear facilities. Abbas Araghchi addressed the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva on Friday ahead of a meeting with top European diplomats.
Israel has launched an unprovoked aggression on Iran in a stark violation of Article 2, Paragraph 4 of the Charter, and in bold defiance of all the principles and rules that this Council stands for. Our peaceful nuclear facilities have also been targeted, despite their being under full monitoring of IAEA, and despite the fact that attacking such facilities are absolutely banned under international law. Israeli attacks on nuclear facilities are grave war crimes, given also the danger of environmental and health catastrophe as the result of radiological leakage.
Araghchi says any justification of these criminal acts is tantamount to complicity, but speaking to reporters afterward, he did say that Iran would be open to diplomacy once hostilities end. Meanwhile, Ottawa is helping Canadians leave the Middle East once they reach countries bordering Israel and Iran. It has stationed consular office officials on the other side of certain crossings on the Israeli and Iranian borders to help those fleeing either country to get home, since airports are closed across the region. Thousands of daily parcels deliveries have been halted across the country. DHL Express Canada shut down operations early this morning amid a strike and lockout involving 2,100 truck drivers and other workers. The work stoppage comes the same day that legislation banning replacement workers takes effect. DHL has tied the shutdown to stalled negotiations with Unifor, as well as the revised rules, which bar new hires from filling the roles of federally regulated employees who are on strike or locked out. Via Rail and Unifor have averted a strike by workers after reaching a tentative agreement. The 2,400 Via Rail workers across the country had voted for a strike mandate to be exercised as early as Sunday. Unifor says the tentative agreement offers gains in wages, job security, and working conditions. The union represents workers at Via Rail stations, maintenance centers, the customer care center, in administrative offices and on board trains. Well, in other news, summer is here, which means kids will be home for the holidays, allowing them to spend even more time in front of their electronic devices. Due to the growing trend of child sexual abuse material, particularly material created with artificial intelligence, Alert is sending a gentle but important reminder to parents. Heather Bangle from Alert's Internet Child Exploitation Unit says in 2024, Canada prosecuted nearly 4,000 sexually explicit deepfake images and videos of children and young people.
With the internet, right, any child is at risk of this. It can be a child in Lethbridge or anywhere in Canada or around the world. We are getting calls where there's lots of, calling it Nudify apps. You know, that's where you can take a photo and alter it so that you remove the clothes or nudify the person in the photo that you're using. We've actually had files where a child will take school sports photos or pictures off of social media and then nudify these images using AI. But we also have adults that are just as capable and have been either creating it from nothing, so it's not an actual child being depicted in the image, or taking images that they have found online. I really truly believe that education and awareness is how we're going to best protect these kids.
Bangle says 1 in 10 children says that they've known someone whose image has been deep faked. Lethbridge Fire and Emergency Services is trying to pinpoint the cause of an early morning fire on the south side of the city. At about 3:20 this morning, fire crews from 4 stations responded to a call of a third-floor living room fire in a building in the 3200 block of 20th Avenue South. A resident of the building who took the following video right there told BCN at least all residents on the 3rd floor were evacuated. Some had to be rescued by aerial apparatus from their balconies due to heavy smoke in the hallways. No injuries have been reported. However, 10 residents have been displaced due to the fire and smoke damage. The cause of the fire remains under investigation and damage is estimated at $500,000. The Canadian Red Cross and the City of Lethbridge are assisting those who are currently affected. The police cadet program at the Lethbridge Polytechnic honored their latest class of cadets in a graduating ceremony today to receive their academic certifications and badges. 10 cadets are exiting the 23-week program that ensures newly hired officers will be exceptionally trained in hard and soft skills, from firearms use to interpersonal communication and ethical accountability. The latest class includes 8 cadets with the Lethbridge Police Service, 1 cadet with Tabor, and 1 with the Canadian Pacific Kansas City Police Service.
It's really exciting. You know, we've put a lot of work in as a class and as a group together to get to this point, supporting each other. We've really built a good connection with all of us in the class, all 10 of us. And it's really exciting. You can just see the camaraderie in the classroom and the excitement just kind of bubble up from everybody. We're all excited for the next stage of training, which is our FTO period on the streets, serving the community, working in the community itself, and being involved in that role.
We did a lot. We did things all the way from law on one side all the way to shooting on the other side, driving, a bunch of stuff. It was all an accumulation of things that are obviously necessary for a police officer to know. That being said, it flew by. So clearly we were having fun. The whole experience was fantastic, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat.
This is one of the only accredited police training programs available. We are accredited through the Ministry of Advanced Education and the Solicitor General. This was an exceptional group of officers, of cadets who are now officers, just got sworn in today. very engaged, very motivated, very professional. We had a lot of fun. They were easy to work with. They're going to be amazing out on the road.
The Polytechnic's Police Cadet Program provides training for additional services, including the Blood Tribe, Manitoba First Nations, the Canadian National Railway, and the recently established Grand Prairie Police Service. A WestJet cyber attack is still unresolved 1 week in. The country's second largest airline is working to assess whether sensitive data or customers' personal information was compromised after hackers accessed its internal systems. It says the attack has not affected operations, but that some customers may run into some interruptions or errors on WestJet's website and app. The breach arrived just ahead of foreign leaders who gathered last weekend for the G7 summit in Kananaskis, Alberta, though no direct link to the event has been identified. When we think of farming, we think of big pieces of machinery working in the fields, but smaller digital technology is playing an increasing role. For the second year in a row, a digital field day was held today, showcasing how digital agriculture plays an important and realistic role in agricultural fields. Keshav Singh, research scientist, Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada, explains more.
So we are talking about the field agronomy or crop breeding, how these different novel tools coming from AI-based tools in terms of like UAVs, unmanned air vehicles. On those terms, we try the different sensing system on the ground. So right now, one of the trial is about nitrogen efficiency. We want to track the optimized use of the nitrogen, which is helpful for the farmers to get variable nitrogen uses on the ground.
So part of the nitrogen fertilization happens with seeding, and then the other part happens in crop. And the idea is that through split applications, what we can do is put part of it down at seeding, and then based on the conditions that we've experienced throughout the growing season, we can optimize how much nitrogen is being applied through that second application in crop. And the idea is that it helps to reduce the amount of nitrogen that's being lost to the environment. Reducing nitrogen emissions from fertilization is a really big priority when it comes to agricultural sustainability, because losses of that nitrogen to the environment can result in greenhouse gas emissions, which are a contributing factor in climate change. We're using remote sensing and smart sensor technologies to help contribute to reducing those nitrogen losses.
Canada has been an outstanding country when it comes to tech in agriculture. So we have come to look at what they do here, and they're reapplying in our place.
More and more farming is being done with research based on the analysis of data. Singh says automated ground robots, aerial sensors, drones, and data processing technology are part of this new digital transformation in agriculture. Lethbridge might one day be the home of a new professional sports franchise. The Women's Football Alliance is looking to expand into Canada and is working on a collaboration with Cosmos Sports and Entertainment based in Ontario. The WFA is the largest women's tackle football league in the world, operating on an 11-on-11 format with teams based in major cities like Houston, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and St. Louis. The president of Cosmos says Lethbridge and other cities based in the Canadian prairies would be great matches if owners would be willing to bring a franchise home.
You're in the heart of football country in Canada. So the prairies for us is where we start. And that can be Winnipeg and Regina, but it can also be Lethbridge and Red Deer and Brandon and other cities that have a significant population and a history of loving football. If we have an owner that's a champion in Lethbridge, then I think Lethbridge is a logical location. If that owner happens to come from Saskatoon, I think we would gravitate towards Saskatoon. So there are a number of cities that we earmarked as great potential locations, Lethbridge included. But the step now is owners that take women's tackle football seriously and want to be a part of it. Well, women's sports is rising. It's meteoric, the way, women's soccer, women's basketball's growth, women's hockey, and U.S. football. Canadians follow the NFL. They follow the CFL, but they also follow the NFL. So I think there would be no gap for US rules, tackle football, and the WFA basically follows NFL rules.
The long-term goal is to have 6 teams in Canada which would play in a Canadian division. The WFA operates in 3 levels, from Pro Division 2 and Division 3, with a total of 60 active teams. Sounds fun. With National Indigenous Peoples Day celebrations taking place across Canada on Saturday, the City of Lethbridge has moved their event from Galt Gardens to the Lethbridge and District Exhibition due to inclement weather. Despite the last-minute change, the city says the reception and anticipation from the community has increased excitement. Indigenous Relations Specialist Echo Noack says this is the 2nd year Lethbridge is hosting a large event for the occasion, and it shows with an increase of 20 to 30 vendors from last year.
It's been amazing. We have been bombarded with phone calls and emails and our social media of what's going on, what's happening. So we're really excited to have the whole community come in and learn more about our culture, take part of our culture, and celebrate. I think National Indigenous Peoples Day is really, it's a day for Indigenous people. It's not shared with anybody. It's not taking part in another. So it's really focused on celebrating who we are. I think a lot of the times Indigenous culture or heritage or Indigenous, the story is always impacted through like reconciliation or our past. So.